Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. We're here to help you see the new you. My name is Carmine Ortega, and this is U-Turn. Good morning, U-Turners. Welcome to U-Turn on the new channel. All right. So today's Thursday morning, and we have another exciting episode today. Okay, and today our guest is from a different time zone, so I hope you're excited about that. Please stay tuned. Okay. All right. So just a reminder, we stream live every Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. here on Facebook, and also just recently YouTube. All right. Okay, so right now I'd like to greet some people. Happy birthday. Okay, so let's check it out. All right, happy birthday to two people I used to work with, Marky Malabanan and Christian Medina. And also belated happy birthday to Bianca de la Cruz and Rafi Siguenza, my daughter. Happy birthday, belated happy birthday. Of course, I greeted her on her birthday, but then I'm greeting her again today. Also, belated happy birthday to Chris Clews, who is our guest today. Okay, we'll get to talk to him a little bit later. All right. So right now, what I'd like to do is to share today's quote. Okay. So as you know, here on U-Turn on the new channel, we like to share quotes because we like to give away gifts, okay? And we like to get you guys to think about a few things. All right, so today's quote goes, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it, all right? It's from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Ferris Bueller, the character himself, you know, in the movie, it's an 80s movie, said that. Okay, so I think this is a good reminder to everyone, you know, that life is short, and more and more I feel that, especially with my age. Okay, so life is short, and we should be doing things that really matter. So things that are important to us, things that help other people, things that help us grow. These things should be our focus. Okay, so life moves fast. Before you know it, life is almost over. So I hope we all get to live meaningful lives. All right. So what you need to do with a quote, share our live stream, leave your interpretation of the quote and you could get this gift. This is a nice little gift. I like it for myself. I'm gonna get it for myself also. So it's a magnifying glass. If you notice, there's a switch. That's because it comes with an LED light there. You can see it there. Okay. All right. So we're giving this away to whoever gives the best interpretation of our quote. Once again, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. From Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's a classic movie from the 80s. All right. Okay, so is it time to call our guest? Yes, it is. Okay, so our guest for today is a speaker and author, and he's the author of the book series called 80s. What 80s pop culture teaches us about today's workplace. Okay, so it's a book series, and he's here to talk about that. He's also a speaker, and he'll share with us his experiences doing this. But once upon a time, he wasn't, a speaker or an author. He used to work full time as a marketing executive. All right, so those are his books. We'll talk about another one a little later. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Chris Clews.
How you doing, Carmen?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for joining us today. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Chris is streaming from South Florida.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what time is it now?
Almost 10:40 in the evening.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying up to do this.
I'm a night owl, so it's good with me.
And by the way, belated happy birthday. You just had a milestone birthday.
I did. I turned 50.
Right.
So,
okay. Half a century. Happy birthday. How did you celebrate your birthday?
It was pretty casual. My girlfriend and I took my new puppy dog to a dog beach a little north of us, and he saw the ocean for the first time. So that was really cool. We went to a brewery the day before. We like to go to really casual breweries and just sit and have a couple of beers and support a small local business. That's always a good thing to do. So it was a pretty overall pretty casual day. But considering everything that's going on, I've already told everybody my 51st birthday next year will actually be the celebration of my 50th. So yeah.
I was thinking of the exact same thing for myself, because I'm going to turn 50 soon too. Okay, so everybody, just so you know, I'm not 35 years old. I'm turning 50 in January.
Yeah.
And I was planning on a big celebration when I turn 50, but then I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, I think I'm going to celebrate my 50th when I turn 51, like you.
That's what I'm going to do for sure. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So thank you for joining us. And today we will talk about your books, of course, and also your experience as a speaker. More importantly, I think it would be good to share also how you were able to shift, from being a marketing executive to being on your own, right? This is your own enterprise. This is what you do now. And I think a lot of people would be curious and would like to be able to do something similar. So we'll tackle that as well.
Yeah.
All right. But first, tell us about your books. Like, what are they about? And, when you created them?
Sure. So the book series, What 80s Pop Culture Teaches Us About Today's Workplace, it really came from we'll call it having a self-pity party of one. I was watching The Breakfast Club, which is one of my favorite 80s movies, which over my shoulder here, you can see from The Breakfast Club, Don't You Forget About Me. And I was watching that movie, and there's a point where John Bender, one of the characters, says, screws fall out all the time. The world's an imperfect place. And I was feeling like I was in an imperfect place with my career. And I wondered, what am I going to do to put the screws back in? Am I going to get a new door? Am I going to put those proverbial screws back in where they were? Maybe get some new screws? I had to change it up somehow. And I thought maybe this idea of The Breakfast Club teaching us about problem solving with the screws falling out might make an interesting article. So I wrote this article on what The Breakfast Club taught us about the workplace. I put it on LinkedIn. People responded, and I was really surprised at the response. And so I decided to write a book, What 80s Pop Culture Teaches Us About Today's Workplace. I put 10 movies in that first one. I self-published it. By the way, for those of you that are aspiring authors, it is as easy today as it has ever been to self-publish your own book. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And I put it up on Amazon. People bought it. And then I built a website, positioned myself as a speaker on the topic of what 80s pop culture teaches us about the workplace, and created the second book, started speaking at conferences and events, and published the second book. And then we were off and running. So it was taking two things that I knew well, 80s pop culture, which I love. My friends were glad that I had an outlet for all my 80s quotes instead of using them for all the quotes. And I knew the business world well, so I put them together.
Right. Okay. So it started with, a little bit of expression, self-expression with one article, and then it just became a book. It evolved into a book. All right. Great. And was this something that you've always wanted to do? Like when you were little, did you want to be an author, a speaker? Like, does a kid ever really want to be a speaker someday? I don't think so.
I mean, maybe some of us want to be on stage, because we have that thing that we want to be on stage. I wanted to be an ambulance driver and a baseball player when I was 6 years old. And I did a little bit of acting when I was younger, so I enjoy being on stage. I think that kind of led me to this. And I always enjoyed writing, but I did corporate marketing for a long time, and I really, really loved it. I just felt like we're going to talk about a little bit later one of the lessons from one of the 80s movies that where we talk about creating yourself and when you can do that and how you do it and at what age you do it. So I think it was really something that I enjoyed. I loved writing. I loved being on stage when I was younger. So it just took me a little longer to figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then, so when did this happen? When did the first book come out?
The first book came out in May of 2018.
Okay. So pretty recent.
Yeah.
But then your growth is phenomenal, right? Like things started to move fast as soon as it came out.
Yeah, I absolutely love what I do, and I'm very, very passionate about it. So I think when you're passionate about something and you love what you do, you just want to create and create and create. And that's what happened with me.
All right. Somebody's saying, Marlo Tejada is saying, wow, Titos and Titas show. Tito is like uncle. Yeah. Tita is like aunt. And it's jargon around here. And people around our age, we're called titos and titas. And when you say titos and titas, they know pagers, they know phones that you that have a dial like that. Yeah. So titos and titas are like you and me. You're a tito, I'm a tita.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it. That's good.
Right. And yeah, later, Marlo, later Chris will share some of the lessons that appear in his books. Okay, so you wrote a third book, and this is an ebook, right? Did you write this during the quarantine?
Yeah. So it's a short story, and it's very different from everything else I've done with the 80s pop culture. And it's called Coffee, Love, and a Cross-Country Road Trip. And it's basically a short story about someone, my girlfriend that I met on January 4th for a cup of coffee. And we fell in love. I'd never been in love before. I was 49 years old, never really been in love. Fell in love. And then when everything kind of shut down, she had to get back to her small town in Colorado. I was in South Florida, and I said, well, why don't I just come with you? So we ended up spending 6 weeks in a small town in Colorado, very different from where I am in South Florida. And that was the cross-country road trip. So you put that together, and it's a short story. I think it's a fun read. And for anybody that has ever, especially from a male point of view, we don't get love stories and romance stories from a male point of view very often. Maybe the movie Notting Hill, if you've ever seen that, is from a male point of view with Hugh Grant. But other than that, we don't get a lot of them. So I thought it was fun to write it from a male point of view and give people perspective into what we're thinking as a relationship is building and the questions that we have and things like that. And there's a lot of pop culture references in it. So
was this something that you imagined at all, writing a love story?
No.
But then it's a true love story, right?
Not at all. And if anything, I would have written it as a comedy. But I just felt like I needed to tell the story. I thought it was a cool story. And it started out as just something I did, again, for fun. And then I ended up self-publishing it in ebook. So it's available actually in a number of different ebook vehicles. It's all over Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple. Actually, there's some international pages as well where it's available.
Mm-hmm. Right. We're going to show the cover of this third book that you're referring to. What's the title?
It's called Coffee, Love, and a Cross-Country Road Trip.
Coffee, Love, and a Cross-Country Road Trip. And it's an ebook, and it's available on Amazon. All right. And you can see the, how there's a look inside on Amazon.
Yes.
I did that. So I'm gonna get this book.
Yeah.
Right. Very interesting. And I could feel the high energy even with the first couple of pages. So I think that is interesting, from a male perspective. Right. So there's a cover, Coffee, Love, and a Cross-Country Road Trip by Chris Clews, his third book, and it's an EPUB.
Yep.
An ebook.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
Right.
It's a short, easy read.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think for guys too, for women, it's good to see what men are thinking. For guys, it just shows you it's okay to fall in love, right? And we all have questions when we do, whether we're men or women. We have questions when we're in a relationship. What does this mean? What does that mean? And I tried to answer some of those as best as I could.
Right. Okay. All right. So, Chris, we'll go on break for now. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about the shift itself, from what you did for a long time and then shifting into this. That would be very interesting. All right. Okay. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. We're back on U-Turn on the new channel, and for now we will have some announcements. Okay, let's have a look at them. All right, so I'd like to share our other inspirational shows here on the new channel. Okay, so I'm gonna give you what they're about and also the schedule. So The Big Picture shares inspiring stories of notable personalities. It streams Mondays to Fridays at 7 p.m. HR Hotline introduces us to the wonderful world of human resources, and it streams Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 12 noon. We also have The Fourth Project with Bob Kilapio. It streams Wednesdays and Saturdays, 7 p.m. Dubai time, 11 p.m. Manila time. So yes, we do stream from Dubai. All right, so The Home Buyer is where you hear remarkable stories about building and owning a property, streaming Mondays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Laugh and Learn through the Puppet Stories. It streams every Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Magbenta, bumili at tumulong dahil bukas na ang TNC Marketplace. It's an online night bazaar streaming live every Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. Two leaders in one platform in every episode with TNC The Talk It streams every Mondays at 12 noon. So we'll have that after this show. After shift is about our lives after or outside of work. So it's a chillaxing show that streams every Wednesdays and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Usapang Beauty is about beauty beyond what the eyes can see. Thursdays and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. Yo Law is the newest addition, or one of the newest additions to our growing list of shows. This is for all of us to understand the law better and also appreciate that it can be fun and interesting. So that's Mondays and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. We also have One Day. It's a 30-minute original, and it profiles unique and inspiring stories of real people. It alternates with TNC Town Hall, co-hosted by the new channel co-founders Lloyd Luna and Apple Manansala. We also have TNC PressCon, TNC Arena, and TNC Cinema. So, right. And now what you'll see on screen is one of the newest ones. Actually, it will premiere on the 4th of September. That's tomorrow. Okay, so this is Danny Art Show, okay, with Danny Acuña. And her first guest is Tintin Bersola Babao. So that's something to look forward to. Congratulations to Danny. All right. Okay, let us call back our guest because we are going to play a game with him. I don't know if he realizes it, but we will play a game with him.
I'm ready.
Hi, Chris. Okay, so we will be playing what we call quick turn. Actually, it's just, an excuse to get to know you better. It's what we do with our guests. We mention a few things, random things, and we want to know how you feel about them. So if you like them, you say right turn. If you don't like them, you say left turn. But if you love them, you say U-turn.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So all right. First one, classical literature, as in the Greek stuff.
Right turn.
Skateboarding. Some of these are 80s items.
U-turn.
U-turn.
Yeah.
Were you a skater boy?
Yeah, a little bit when I was younger.
Okay. 8 is enough.
Left turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
You took long to answer, so probably not. Hubba Bubba.
Oh, U-turn. Love the
What was your favorite flavor?
Watermelon.
Really? I love
Watermelon
grape.
or grape. Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah. Okay, this is a choice between two things, McDonald's or Burger King.
Burger King.
How do you like your burger?
Medium rare.
With everything on it? No mustard? Whatever.
I like ketchup, no mustard. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Fried egg. A fried egg is good on a burger.
Okay. So I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Who do you think, if they had, been popular at the same time, who do you think would have the greater shock factor, Madonna or Lady Gaga?
Ooh. Popular at the same time? Probably Lady Gaga.
All right.
Yeah.
But given the sequence where Madonna came out in the early 80s and then Lady Gaga came out now, what's the net shock factor, you think? Which one's greater?
I would say Madonna because she tended towards more controversial issues and topics, where Lady Gaga just was outlandish and cool. I mean, she's awesome.
Yeah.
But she was outlandish with the way she dressed and things like that.
Right. That's true. And I do tell my daughters that. I tell them, like, you don't know the Madonna that I knew when I was younger. Like, everything she did was, was something that we always talked about. And I think Madonna paved the way for Lady Gaga. Like, however outlandish she is, we can accept it. It's no longer weird, not too weird.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
All right. Walkmans.
U-turn. I loved Walkman when they came out. It was the best technology ever at the time.
Right. How about Whitney Houston or her music?
Right turn because she's got an amazing voice, but left turn because it really wasn't my type of music.
All right. Okay. So maybe the next question will answer that better. Bon Jovi or Guns N' Roses?
Wow. Bon Jovi.
Okay. Bon Jovi. All
Yeah.
right. Now, this is a question. We're almost done.
Okay.
What's your favorite 80s theme song? Like, if you hear that song in your head, it really takes you back in time, like maybe to high school or middle school.
Television show, so theme song like for a TV show.
It doesn't matter. It could be a song. It's like the theme
Oh,
song of when you were growing up.
well, I mean, for me, Don't You Forget About Me from The Breakfast Club, and that's Simple Minds. Anytime I hear that song, from the very beginning, it takes me back to high school.
Takes you back.
If we were talking about a TV theme, anytime I hear the theme song for Magnum PI, that's going to take me
Magnum
back.
PI.
Oh, yeah.
Not Miami Vice.
No, Magnum PI for me.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for playing. Now we know you a little bit better. All right. Cool. All right. So, let's go back to when you weren't an author yet, when you didn't have the books yet.
Yeah.
What were you doing exactly? And did you love what? Of course you did, but yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I was in corporate marketing for almost 22 years, in a lot of different industries as well. So financial industry, logistics. I worked for DHL for a while. You're probably familiar with DHL in Asia. Worked for several financial industries, financial firms as the head of marketing. Also worked in some ad agencies. I worked for marketing for Planet Hollywood back in the day. In the mid 90s, Planet Hollywood was huge. That was a really awesome experience. So I really got to work in a lot of different industries. That's a great thing about marketing is you can really jump from industry to industry. It's the marketing principles that matter more so than really staying in the same industry for years or decades. So that was one thing I loved about marketing because I like to just bounce around. It's hard for me to focus on one project for days or weeks on end. And marketing allows you to be involved in multiple projects at a time.
All right. Okay. So when you wrote the article, the first article, and then you eventually wrote the book, how were you able to balance, work and then writing, and then you started to speak as well, right? How did that go?
It was tough, but I
But
wanted to do
exciting.
this. It was exciting. It was tough, but my passion was there. So I was working 10 to 12 hours a day in the office, going to the gym from the office, eating dinner at around 10 or 10:30 at night, taking a little bit of a break, and then really doing my writing and all the stuff, building my website. All that was happening from midnight to 3 a.m. And then I would get up at 6:30 and do the same thing and repeat. So it was a lot of work for about 14 months. But I knew that I had something, and I also knew that this was where I wanted to go. So it was worth it to me to just burn the candle at both ends, as they say.
Right. Okay. So at what point did you decide, okay, I'm gonna quit my full-time job?
Yeah.
What were the signs that it was time to do that?
Well, the business was building on the side. I was getting opportunities to speak, and I was taking my vacation time, my paid time off, to go to speak at conferences and events. So I'd get offered a chance to speak somewhere, and I would take 2 vacation days and go there and speak. That started to build on the side. And then there's a moment where you kind of have to decide. I don't know that there's necessarily all of the signs that people are looking for, but you have to make the decision, because I think the easy thing is to say, well, I have this job, I'm comfortable, I'm content, I get a paycheck, I have benefits, I have all the things that I need for my job. It sometimes makes it harder to decide to walk away. And I put a date in place and said, on this date, I am going to leave the corporate world and pursue my passion full time. Regardless of where I was, regardless of the signs, regardless of what was happening, that was the moment. And I put a date in the calendar and said, this is it. And I stuck to it.
All right. Wow. Congratulations. I remember once upon a time, I had my first speaking gig before you did. But then after you had your first one, you had one after the other. You were nonstop. So congratulations on that success.
I mean, I love doing it. I think it comes through. And I really hope that my goal is to be relatable as a speaker and for people to have fun. That's ultimately what I want to do. I obviously want them to retain the information that we talk about. It's why I use 80s pop culture when I speak, because I think it's something that people can retain. It's different, it's unique. But ultimately, I want people to have fun, and I want them to feel like we're relatable and we can relate to each other.
Okay. All right. So speaking of that, speaking of relatable, what are some lessons that you can share with us?
Okay.
Right. Can you share a few with us?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off with the guys on my shirt here, right here, Karate Kid, because of course, if you see that right there. So
yes.
If you have Netflix, the series Cobra Kai is on right now. I highly recommend it if you're a Karate Kid fan, because they are talking about they're actually the same characters. 35 years later, I guess, and so that makes it really, really cool. So Johnny's in it, William Zabka. Anyway, Mr. Miyagi, one of the things he said was, "Don't forget to breathe." Very important. And he was talking to Daniel-san when he was teaching him about karate and the wax on, wax off scene. And he said, "Don't forget to breathe." Very important. There's a really valuable lesson in these 6 words, and that's about stress and workplace wellness, because we all feel it, and we're feeling it even more today. A lot of people are working from home virtually right now. They've never done that before. They feel stressed. Don't forget to breathe. Very important. It is important to remember to breathe, not just from the physical thing that we do with breathing, but breathe. Don't forget to breathe can mean a lot of different things. So, for example, I compare stress to dehydration. Once you realize you have it, it's too late. If you've ever been dehydrated like I have, you can go back to that day and look at all the signs that created the dehydration. It's the same thing with stress. We can see the signs if we're paying attention, but we usually don't see them. We're not paying attention to it. We're just driving through in our workday, and then all of a sudden we're stressed and everything kind of explodes. So if we just look at those signs that are coming with stress, and we remember Mr. Miyagi saying, "Don't forget to breathe." And breathe can mean taking a step back and having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or playing with your dog or your kid, or taking a walk with your spouse, or even just going out in your backyard. That can represent breathing, but it's giving you a break so that you don't have that stress build up.
Right. Okay. That's from the Karate Kid. How about a couple of other movies?
Sure. How about Coming to America?
Sure. Yeah, that was big here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, Karate Kid, Coming to America.
Yeah.
Yes, we love them.
Coming
The
to
titos
America.
and the titas. The titos and the titas can relate very well.
Yes. And everybody should relate to Coming to America. It's a fantastic movie. Eddie Murphy in his prime. And he played Prince Akeem. And Prince Akeem was born into royalty. And so because of that, everybody just wanted to please him because of his station in life. And so he decides, I want to earn my own way. I don't want people to know who I am. I don't want them to know about my royalty. I'm going to go to Queens, New York, and I'm going to take this job cleaning the restaurants. And he says, when you think of garbage, think of Akeem. And the lesson there is about unearned leadership versus earned leadership. So when things are given to us in life, particularly leadership roles, people just want to please because they want to make sure that you're happy, not because they necessarily respect your position as far as earning it, because more like they want to please you. With earned leadership, people look at you and they respect it, and they create believers. So unearned leadership creates pleasers. Earned leadership creates believers. Prince Akeem knew that. And in order to get people to follow you and really believe in you, they have to know that you've earned your position. And that's what he was doing when he said, I'm going to take this job sweeping the floors in a restaurant, and I'm going to earn my way. I'm going to earn my keep, and I'm going to create believers.
That is interesting. That's true. How about, let's see, Stand By Me or The Outsiders? You have anything from either of those?
Yeah, both of those actually. So we haven't talked about Stand By Me, but there's a really great scene in Stand By Me where the kids are around a campfire and they're talking about things that 12-year-old boys would talk about. And one of the conversations is, well, if Donald's a duck and Mickey's a mouse and Pluto's a dog, what's Goofy? And so the one kid says, well, of course, Goofy's a dog. And the other kid says, yeah, but he wears a hat and drives a car. And so they all look at each other like, well, what is Goofy? And so this really kind of stupid question, you would think would be a stupid question, created this incredible brainstorm about what is Goofy? Is he really a dog? He has a hat, he has a car. And in our workplace, we think about stupid questions and we tend to not ask them. We think like the simplest question may be a stupid question, but it's not. The simplest question can drive the biggest brainstorm. It gets everybody involved. Everyone feels like they can participate. And then before you know it, you're looking at all of these different potential solutions for the problem that you may have had from the simplest question. So don't ever be afraid, and don't ever be in a situation where people think that somebody says that's a stupid question. That's never a good thing to say, because in my opinion, there are no stupid questions.
Right. And I think I agree with you. I think when we ask the right questions, we get the answers that we want, or the answers that we need, right? So we have to appreciate all questions. Right. And how about The Outsider? That's my favorite.
The Outsiders. So The Outsiders is a classic one, and there's a really great lesson in The Outsiders that has to do with the theme of U-Turn of your show, and it's Johnny Cade and Ponyboy. And there's the scene where Johnny Cade runs into the burning church to save the kids, and he's severely burned, and he's in the hospital. He's going to die, and he writes this letter to Ponyboy, and everybody talks about how he says "Stay gold." Stay gold is the classic line from The Outsiders. Stay gold, Ponyboy. But there's a bigger lesson in there. I think in the letter he says, you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. And that's something that's near and dear to me, because I decided to go on this journey when I was 47 years old. Not 27, not 17, not 37. 47 years old is when I decided I had figured out what I wanted to do. I'd found my passion, and now I was going to go do it. And that idea of you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. And that resonated with me. And so I think that's a really important lesson. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter what you've done or you haven't done. You still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. And you have to just kind of decide what that is and then chase it. Henry David Thoreau, who was a pop culture icon in the 1830s and 40s, he said the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Now, he was saying this before the Industrial Revolution, before people were planted in their chairs, working in their office 50 hours a week. He was already recognizing that most people lead lives of quiet desperation. And that quote, along with you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want, that's really the modern day quote for the Henry David Thoreau, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Right.
And it's true. And I was leading my life of quiet desperation. I decided to change that.
Congratulations. And today's quote is related to that too, right? The one from Ferris Bueller.
About life. Yeah.
Yes.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you can miss it. It really does. I don't know if we have a moment to talk about Prince.
I was going to ask you about that. Have you ever, cited lessons from music from the 80s?
Yeah. So music's awesome, right? And I mean, 80s music is great because there were a lot of one-hit wonders. There's
nothing like it. There's nothing like 80s music.
Nothing. The experimentation that was going on in the 80s created the music that we have today. We don't have hip-hop without the 80s. We don't have heavy metal without the 80s. We don't have Lady Gaga, I don't think, without the 80s. Madonna, you mentioned Madonna, right? So there's all these things that happen. There's a lot of experimentation that created all these genres of music. Well, there's one guy in particular, everybody calls Michael Jackson the king of pop. And he can have that king of pop. But Prince was the king of music. And he, in my opinion, he wrote music, he sang, he played multiple instruments. And he did this really cool thing. There was an alt singer whose name was Suzanne Vega back in 1987. You remember her? Yeah.
Yes.
She had a song called Left of Center. And then she had a song called My Name is Luca. I live on the second floor. I live upstairs from me. That's all the singing you're going to get from me. But she had a song, My Name is Luca. And Prince heard that song. And he was so moved that he penned a handwritten note to her. And that note said, "Dearest Suzanne, Luca is the most compelling piece of music I've heard in a long time. There are no words to describe what I feel when I hear it. I thank God for you, Prince." And he got this handwritten note to her because back then there's no email. There's no digital way to get it to her. Somebody had to deliver that handwritten note to her. And it got to her. And we know this because she posted it on her social media in 2016 after he died. to let people know the kind of guy he was. And there's a
Right.
really valuable lesson in there about leadership, the difference between those that rule and those that lead. So when rulers get the stage, they tend to keep everybody below it. When leaders get the stage of success, they share the stage. He saw that she was doing something great, and he wanted her to know, like, hey, I see you. I see you're doing something great. Keep going. And that gave her a boost of self-confidence. And we know this because I actually put this on Twitter, and Suzanne Vega liked it, which was a really cool moment for me because I do love Suzanne Vega as well. But this idea that we can give encouragement doesn't cost a thing. We can encourage somebody today, tomorrow, next hour, next minute, and leaders should be doing this all the time, especially with people working virtually. You could pen a handwritten note to one of the people on your team, put it in the mail for them, or drop it off at their house, and then they get that note from their leader that says, hey, I see you. I see that you're doing stuff great. Keep it up. We're all going to be back together soon. Just keep going. And that's a really important lesson for all of us. So Prince taught us that.
To appreciate others and to give encouragement. Yep, I agree with you. I'm big on that.
Don't be afraid of other people's greatness. Embrace it. If you're a leader, if you're doing great things and you see somebody else doing great things, let them know. Don't be afraid of other people's greatness. Encourage it.
Right. Very inspiring words. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. All right. So it's time to have another break. Okay. So hang in there. We'll continue when we get back after this.
All right.
Welcome back to U-Turn on the new channel, and let's have our guest back, Mr. Chris Clews, speaker and author of what the 80s, we have a long title, Chris, what 80s pop culture teaches us about today's workplace. All right, so before we continue, I'd like to ask you these questions. It's still getting to know you and learning from you, okay? So I have some photos. I'll ask you a couple of questions, one or two questions about them, okay?
Great. Yeah.
So that's your mom and that's your dad. What was growing up like to you? What were the best times when you were growing up?
Yeah, so this is interesting because that the picture of my mom is Disney World. I think it was the first time that I went to Disney World, and I've got my bucket hat. It was great. I mean, I was very lucky as a kid to be able to have the opportunity to do the things that I wanted to do. I had two great parents. That actually on the right, my dad had a small production company, and I was doing a commercial for with him. And so he was telling me that I actually had to they were shooting in Atlanta. I lived in Baltimore. I had to get back to school. My part of it was done, and he was explaining to me that I couldn't stay and I had to go back to school. So I wasn't happy about it.
Your face is very expressive in that photo.
Yeah, I was not happy about having to go back to school. So
okay. All right. Let's look at the next photo.
Standing in front of my favorite arcade game back in the 80s, Galaga. For those of you
Galaga.
that don't know, back in the 80s, we went to arcades in the mall. We had these video game arcades, and we found quarters in the couch cushions and in the laundry, and we would go to the arcade and put them into the game to play. So if you watch the show Stranger Things, you see that they're in the arcades a lot on Netflix with the 80s. Galaga was my favorite game at the time. Dragon's Lair became my favorite game after that, and I think Ryan Reynolds is actually going to star in a Dragon's Lair movie, I heard.
I see. Okay. All right. I just like Space Invaders and Pac-Man. You know, I like the safe stuff.
And terrible haircuts in the 80s. Terrible.
It wasn't so bad. Did you ever have that 80s hair? You know, when you were a teen, I think you were much younger here, but when you were a teen, did you have, you know, the mullet-ish kind of?
I never had a mullet, but I did have a rat tail, which was just horrific. Yeah.
Rat tail. I should have found that photo.
No, there's no photos. Yeah.
I burned them.
Yeah.
Okay. Next photo, please.
Oh yeah. That's my new puppy dog. I rescued him about a month ago. His name's Bodie. He's named after Patrick Swayze's character in Point Break.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Right.
So
cool. Is he a mix? Is Bodie a mix?
Yeah, he's a mix. He's probably a pit lab mix, we think. He's 7 months now. He was found at 3 months on the side of the road, basically dying, not moving. And he was brought to a rescue. And they took him through therapy and got him to start walking for the first time at 4 months. And I saw pictures of him. I just said, I got to have this guy. And I'm a big animal person. So a portion of the proceeds for my books and my speaking gigs go to the SPCA International to help them.
SPCA stands for?
It's the, I knew you were going to ask me that.
I'm sorry.
I'm drawing a blank now.
It's okay, but it's about rescuing
dogs, right? Yeah, rescuing animals around the world. And they have a really great program. So they they're all over they're international. So there's one in the US and then there's international as well.
Okay.
It's Global Animal Rescue.
All right. And tell us about the next photo.
Okay. Yeah. So this was NostalgiaCon back in September of 2019. I had the opportunity to go to an event called NostalgiaCon 80s. And I was a speaker there. So I had a pretty good session where I talked about the lessons from 80s pop culture. While I was there, I also got a chance to be a moderator for some of the 80s celebrity panels. And this particular one was a Goonies reunion. So you have Sean Astin in the middle, who, if you don't know the Goonies, if you're a little younger, you may know him as Frodo from Lord of the Rings, or Bob the Brain from Stranger Things, but I know him as from the Goonies.
Wasn't he Sam, the friend, Frodo's friend?
I'm sorry, Sam, you're right.
Right. So Samwise.
Yeah, Frodo was actually had a very small part when he was 8 years old in Back to the Future 3.
Right.
So,
Elijah Wood. I like Elijah
Wood. So also here, Corey Feldman, obviously on the right-hand side. So that's Corey Feldman and Sean Astin. We did a Goonies reunion panel. And I also got to moderate a panel that was an MTV VJ reunion panel. Back when MTV did music.
So with this experience, you've been meeting a lot of celebrities, especially who were very popular during the 80s. So that must be a blast, like a real kick, right? Finally, you're meeting these people.
It's awesome for me. I mean, I never thought that I would get to this point where I would be interacting with the very people that I'm writing about and their characters.
Right.
So
it's
really, really cool.
Sean Astin and Corey Feldman. I didn't recognize him. All right. So titos and titas would know these people, these names that we're mentioning.
Yeah.
But the younger ones, you would have to look them up.
Sean Astin, the younger ones may know if they saw Lord of the Rings.
Right.
But Corey Feldman was definitely an 80s guy. If you are younger and you're curious about Corey Feldman's movies in the 80s, you would look up movies like The Lost Boys, which is a fantastic vampire movie. Nothing like Twilight. It is not a Twilight vampire movie. It's a really great vampire movie. Kiefer Sutherland plays the main vampire, but Corey Feldman was in The Lost Boys, Stand By Me, which we talked about earlier. He was in a movie called License to Drive. I mean, he did a number of movies. The Goonies, obviously. So yeah, highly recommend going back and just Google Corey Feldman. You'll find some good movies.
All right. Yes. And finally, I'm really curious about this experience of yours. This is our last photo.
Yeah.
What's the experience like, signing books and
Yeah.
being at bookstores like that or events, and then people asking to have their photo with you? How does that feel?
It's surreal. It's really humbling, and it's awesome because it's not as much about the signing of the books as it is the conversation that you have with people. They're reminiscing and they're being nostalgic as well about their time growing up in the 80s. And if they're younger, the couple in the bottom here happen to be some of my very good friends that own a Thai sushi restaurant here in South Florida. And they've always been very supportive of me. They're a little bit younger, but they know all of the 80s movies. And so it's really fun to talk to them, because talking to somebody who is 15 years younger than you and they're saying, I know all those movies. And then they ask you, tell me some that I haven't seen that I should. And that's a lot of fun too, giving people the experience and saying, well, you should watch this, 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 and this. And then going and seeing them 2 weeks later and they're like, hey, we watched all of them last weekend. That's really exciting and really, really cool. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to talk about, I think, as far as these movies, these songs, the music, the culture, even the items, that we were used to, like the pagers and the Walkmans.
Yeah, and
So
that last that one where I'm kind of leaning over the table,
Yes.
that was actually at a screening of The Breakfast Club at a theater in town. So they had about 300 people come for a screening of The Breakfast Club, and I would tell you that about 75% of the audience wasn't born when the movie came out,
Wow.
and they were there enjoying it. So
Okay.
yeah, it's great. Everything's great about the 80s except the fashion. Don't bring the fashion back.
And the haircut and the makeup.
No
Right.
parachute pants. Don't bring any of that stuff back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for telling us about these. We'd like to give a shout out to Kathy Dumandan. Kathy was my classmate in high school. She's in the States now. I think she's in New York. She's saying, thank you, my friend. Right. So she's an 80s kid as well. She's a tita and she's based in the States.
Oh, awesome.
Right. We also have shout out to Joshua Buendia, your favorite Tito. Are you saying Joshua, favorite Tito watching? Shout out to you as well. All right. Okay. So before we wrap up the show, Chris, I'd like to ask you, where can we find your books? How do we get hold of them once again?
Yeah. So my books right now are on Amazon. They're also all available on ebook as well. So it's not just paperback. They're all available on Kindle as well on Amazon. The third book I wrote, The Coffee, Love, and a Cross Country Road Trip, is actually available on a number of different ebook channels. So if you prefer Apple Books or even some of the smaller channels like Scribd, for example, it's available there as well. But the first two books in the series, What 80s Pop Culture Teaches Us About Today's Workplace, they are available on ebook. So if you can't get them on paperback, they're an ebook. I see that you put my website up. Thank you, chrisclews.com. That's where you can find a lot more about me with my speaking engagements. If you want to reach out to me and talk to me about potentially doing some speaking, I'm doing a lot of virtual speaking right now. I spoke recently to Visa, which was a really great event with them. So if you're looking for a speaker, a unique speaker, please reach out to me via my website. Do you want me to bring up my social media channels as well?
Yes. I was gonna mention that. So we can follow you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes, you're seeing them on
You've
screen.
got them right there. Yes. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. I was actually lucky enough when I went to Twitter and got at 80s Pop Culture. I don't know how it was available, but it was, and it made me very happy. So
Good for you. Great. Okay, and I think we have one more shout out here. No, right. Okay, so any parting words for all of us, the rest of us, you can inspire, like especially when it comes to career shift or doing what you can, right? living your dreams, following your passion?
Yeah, I think for me, I go back to you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. It's never too late to decide to pursue your passion. And I think if you're sitting there today and you have a hobby or an interest, our free time is limited, all of us, for different reasons. It might be your job, might be your family, it might be both, but you have a limited amount of free time. And if you're finding that free time is mostly captured by one thing, one passion, one interest, one hobby, then maybe it's time to take a step back and say, gosh, I love this so much. I'm taking that really valuable free time I have and I'm spending all this time on it. Maybe I can make this into a career. Maybe I have something that people would be interested in. Because I'll tell you, moving towards this and doing my passion, I've never been happier in my life. The last couple of years, building a business is a tough thing to do. And anybody will tell you that. It is a tough thing to do. But when you love what you do and you're passionate about it, it doesn't seem like work. And that's the reality for me. We get one chance at this life. And what did Eminem say? We got, one shot. This is your moment, one shot. So we got one shot at this. And I think you need to really figure out what it is that you want to do with your life. And don't be afraid to take a chance, because they talk to people who are older, who are coming to the end of their life, and they always say that they never regret the things that they did. They regret the things they didn't do. And I think a lot of people will ultimately, you may regret that you didn't take that chance. There's no guarantee of success, but you will be happier for the fact that you took the chance and you said, I'm going to do something for me. And
Right.
yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. That's why, in each episode, I always encourage that, following your dreams, finding out what you want and stuff like that, because we need more people like you who are happier, right? The world needs happier people. And what makes us happier, the things that we enjoy doing on a daily basis, or what we spend our time doing. So thank you for saying these words to our audience here. Shout out to one of the hosts here on the new channel, Joby Linsangan Moreno. She hosts the beauty show here. So that's Joby. She's saying hi.
Oh, she can help me with my lighting.
Right. Okay. So, Chris, is your book going to be available in the Asia region?
Yes, we are working on that, aren't we?
Right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's available on Amazon and those other
An
outlets.
ebook. It's available for ebook. For all the books are available on ebook. So
Right.
It's a couple bucks to download, and you'll have a lot of fun, and you'll be able to reminisce, or you'll be able to learn something new about the 80s.
And laugh also.
And laugh, yes. At my
Right.
expense often as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing some lessons from your work. So good luck to you. More power to you. And we'll be in touch with you.
Carmine,
Right.
thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate you thinking of me for your show. It means a lot to me. I was really looking forward to this. So thank you again.
Great. Okay. I'll see you backstage. Okay.
Bye.
Don't leave just yet. All right. Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Chris Clews, author of What the 80s. Where's the title? The books that you saw earlier, What the 80s Teaches Us About the Workplace. Chris Clews is a speaker and the author of those books. And he also has a third book, which is more of a love true story, his true story. It's a short read. All right. So I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in today. I encourage you to share our live stream and give an interpretation of our quote. All right. It's pasted on the comment section, and you're seeing it on the screen as well. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. Ferris Bueller said that in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Chris, our guest, has a chapter dedicated to this lesson as well. Okay, so share that, and you could get a chance to receive the magnifying lens that I shared earlier here. And it comes with LED light. It's for titos and titas, actually. All right, so you should participate in our little quote thing here. All right, so once again, our schedule here on U-Turn on the New channel is Mondays and Thursdays, 10:30 in the morning. Right, like us, follow us on Facebook and YouTube. U-turn, hashtag U-turn on TNC, and hashtag the new channel PH. All right, there you go. So thank you, everyone. Have a great lunch. See you on Monday. Bye.